4,000 meters beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean, where sunlight has never touched and the weight of the entire world presses down with over 5 tons of force per square inch, something moves across the graveyard. It isn't hunting. It isn't fleeing. It shuffles forward on swollen legs that shouldn't exist, mouth pressed to the sediment, feeding on the remnants of the dead. This creature has no eyes because there is nothing to see, no bones because they would shatter under the pressure, no voice because there is no one to hear it. And yet, against every law of nature you might imagine, it thrives in a place where nearly everything else dies. This is the sea pig, and its existence challenges everything we thought we knew about the limits of life on Earth. The first time a human being laid eyes on a sea pig, they thought they were hallucinating. It was 1892, and the HMS Challenger expedition had just hauled up a trawl net from depths no net had ever reached before. When the scientists aboard that creaking wooden vessel opened the net on deck, seawater flooding across their boots, they found something that looked like it had crawled out of a fever dream. Pink, bloated, covered in tube-like legs jutting from its body at impossible angles. Some crew members refused to touch it. Others insisted it couldn't be real, that it was some kind of decomposed whale flesh that had molded into a grotesque shape. But it was real, and it was alive. They had discovered Scotoplanus globosa, though it would be decades before anyone gave it the nickname that would stick forever, the sea pig. To understand why the sea pig exists at all, you have to go back further than most documentaries dare to venture, back beyond the age of dinosaurs, beyond the first forests, beyond even the first fish. 550 million years ago, during the Cambrian explosion, life was experimenting wildly with body plans that seem alien even today. This was an era of biological chaos, where evolution was throwing every possible design at the wall to see what would stick. Creatures with 5 eyes, predators with circular mouths lined with concentric rows of teeth, and among this menagerie, a humble lineage was forming, the sea cucumbers. Distant cousins to starfish and sea urchins, part of an ancient family called echinoderms. While their relatives stayed in shallow waters, developing hard spines and rigid bodies, one branch of sea cucumbers took a different path. As the oceans deepened and the continental shelves spread, these creatures followed the rain of organic matter downward. Generation after generation, they adapted to depths that would kill almost anything else. They lost their rigid structures because rigidity means breaking points, and in the abyss, flexibility is survival. They developed the ability to alter their body density, essentially becoming living water balloons that could withstand pressures that would crush a human skull like an eggshell. And most remarkably, they evolved those bizarre tube feet, transforming from bottom-dwelling blobs into something that could walk across the seafloor like miniature pigs rooting for truffles. This evolutionary journey took hundreds of millions of years, but it gave the sea pig something invaluable: dominion over the dead zone. While asteroid impacts wiped out the dinosaurs, while ice ages came and went, while entire ecosystems collapsed and reformed on the surface, the deep ocean remained relatively stable, cold, dark, unchanging. And the sea pig, perfectly adapted to this eternal night, simply kept existing. Imagine descending in a submarine, the kind of vessel only a handful of humans have ever piloted to these depths. The sunlight fades to blue, then to indigo, then to a darkness so complete it feels solid. Your instruments tell you you're passing 3,000 meters, 4,000. The pressure gauge climbs higher than seems possible, and then, in the cone of light from your submarine's floods, you see the bottom. A wasteland of gray ooze stretching in every direction, interrupted only by the occasional skeleton of a whale or the scattered debris of a sunken ship. This is the abyssal plain, covering more than half of Earth's surface, and it might be the most desolate landscape in the solar system. But wait, something is moving. A sea pig emerges from the darkness at the edge of your lights, and your first instinct is to laugh because it looks absurd. It's roughly the size and shape of a large potato, colored a pale translucent pink that seems to glow faintly in your artificial light. From its body protrude 5 to 7 pairs of elongated tube feet, swollen with hydraulic fluid, giving it the appearance of a bloated pig standing on stilts. On its back, more tube-like appendages called papillae wave gently in the current, looking like grotesque fingers feeling the water for chemical signals. And at what you assume is its front, a ring of feeding tentacles surrounds a mouth pressed firmly against the mud. The sea pig moves with an eerie, deliberate slowness, each step calculated and precise. Those tube feet aren't actually legs in any conventional sense. They're extensions of its water vascular system, a hydraulic network that runs through its entire body. By pumping fluid in and out of these appendages, the sea pig can lift itself, walk, even dig. Watch it long enough, and you'll notice it's always moving into the current, always positioning its feeding tentacles to catch the microscopic particles drifting down from the world above. This is a creature that has turned the very physics of the deep ocean into a tool for survival. What is it eating? The scientific term is marine snow, but that pleasant name disguises a grim reality. Marine snow is the constant rain of death from above. Dead plankton, fecal matter, fragments of fish, chunks of jellyfish, the microscopic debris of every living thing that dies in the upper ocean and slowly drifts down through kilometers of water. By the time this organic matter reaches the abyssal plain, it's been picked over by countless scavengers, broken down by bacteria, reduced to its most basic components. It's the nutritional equivalent of trying to survive on breadcrumbs you found in a 5,000-year-old tomb. And yet, the sea pig not only survives on this diet, it thrives. Those feeding tentacles are marvels of efficiency. Covered in sticky mucus, they sweep across the sediment like metal detectors, searching for the faintest signal of nutrition. When they find something, anything with even the slightest caloric value, they pass it to the mouth. The sea pig then processes this material through a digestive system so efficient it can extract energy from substances most creatures would consider biologically inert. Scientists have found that sea pigs can survive for months, possibly years, between substantial meals. They are living proof that in the deep ocean, patience isn't a virtue, it's the only strategy. But the sea pig isn't always alone in this wasteland. In 2003, a deep-sea expedition using remotely operated vehicles discovered something that changed how scientists viewed these creatures forever. They found a whale fall.
When a whale dies and its carcass sinks to the ocean floor, it becomes an oasis. A single dead whale can weigh 50 tons, representing more calories in one place than the surrounding abyssal plain might receive in a century. And when the cameras approached this particular whale fall, they found hundreds of sea pigs, not scattered across the landscape as they usually are, but concentrated in a writhing, pulsating mass, crawling over and through the decomposing flesh. They had somehow detected this bonanza from distances of potentially hundreds of meters and had congregated like pilgrims to a holy site. This discovery revealed something unsettling about sea pigs. They're far more aware of their environment than their simple appearance suggests. They have no eyes, but they can detect chemical gradients in the water with extraordinary precision. They have no ears, but they can sense vibrations through the sediment. And most remarkably, they appear to communicate with each other, though we still don't understand how. When one sea pig finds a major food source, others arrive. Are they following chemical trails? Can they somehow signal to each other? We don't know. And that mystery makes them both more fascinating and more alien. The name sea pig is charming in its simplicity, but indigenous Pacific Island cultures had their own names for these creatures, though they never saw them alive. Occasionally, after massive underwater earthquakes or volcanic eruptions, sea pigs would wash up on beaches, their bodies already decomposing into translucent jelly. To the people who found them, they looked like ghosts, Spirits from the underworld of the angry ocean had vomited onto the sand. Some cultures believed they were the souls of drowned sailors, transformed by the deep into these walking corpses, forever condemned to wander the ocean floor. The nickname Gravewalker came much later, coined by a marine biologist in 2012, but it captured something those ancient peoples instinctively understood. This is a creature that exists in the realm of the dead. The biological adaptations that allow sea pigs to survive are almost incomprehensible. Consider the pressure first. At 4,000 meters, every square inch of the sea pig's body is being pressed with forces equivalent to having a large elephant standing on a postage stamp. For humans, this pressure would force nitrogen into our blood, collapse our lungs, crush our organs. But the sea pig has no air pockets, no rigid structures. It's essentially the same density as the water around it, meaning the pressure is equalized. Press from the outside, and the inside presses back with equal force. It's less like a creature and more like a very organized arrangement of ocean water that happens to be alive. Then there's the cold. The deep ocean hovers just a few degrees above freezing year-round. The sea pig's cellular structure has adapted to this eternal winter. Its proteins don't freeze or denature at temperatures that would kill surface organisms. Its metabolism runs so slowly that scientists initially thought the specimens they collected were dead, only to discover hours later that they had moved slightly in their containers. Time itself seems to pass differently for sea pigs. They may live for decades, possibly even longer, aging so slowly that the concept becomes almost meaningless. But perhaps the most disturbing adaptation is their ability to essentially dissolve and reform their bodies. When stressed or injured, sea pigs can expel their internal organs through their anus in a process called evisceration. This isn't death, it's a defense mechanism. The expelled organs can distract a predator while the sea pig crawls away, and over the following weeks or months, it will regenerate everything it lost. Imagine being able to throw your liver and intestines at a threat, walk away, and grow new ones. It's the kind of biological capability that seems more like science fiction than evolution. In 2015, a team of researchers from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration conducted one of the most comprehensive studies of sea pig populations ever attempted. Using autonomous underwater vehicles equipped with high-resolution cameras, they surveyed vast stretches of the abyssal plain in the Atlantic Ocean. What they discovered shocked them. Sea pigs weren't rare, isolated creatures barely clinging to survival. In some areas, they were the dominant visible life form, with population densities reaching over 50 individuals per square meter. They were everywhere, carpeting the seafloor like some kind of ambulatory garden. This revelation forced scientists to reconsider the entire ecosystem of the deep ocean. If sea pigs are this numerous, they're not just surviving on marine snow, they're processing it on an industrial scale. Every day, billions of sea pigs across the world's abyssal plains are consuming, digesting, and excreting material. They're essentially recycling the ocean's dead, breaking down complex organic compounds and returning simpler nutrients to the sediment, where they can support bacterial life, which in turn supports other creatures. The sea pig isn't just a scavenger, it's a fundamental component of the deep ocean's nutrient cycle, a creature so important that without it, the entire ecosystem might collapse. But there are mysteries that still haunt researchers. In 2018, an expedition to the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean on Earth, found sea pigs at depths exceeding 8,000 meters. This should be impossible. The pressure at these depths is so extreme that even other deep-sea creatures can't survive. The scientists couldn't explain it. Some hypothesize that there are subspecies of sea pigs with even more extreme adaptations that we've barely studied. Others wonder if the specimens they found were already dead, their bodies drifting down from shallower depths. But several of the sea pigs they observed were clearly alive, clearly moving, clearly feeding. How deep can they go? What is the absolute limit of where life can exist? The sea pig might be testing that boundary right now,
in places we can't reach, in darkness we can't imagine. And then there are the behavioral mysteries. On multiple occasions, remote cameras have captured sea pigs engaging in what can only be described as coordinated group movement. Dozens of individuals all moving in the same direction at the same speed, like a herd of cattle crossing a plain. Where are they going? What triggers this behavior? One hypothesis suggests they're following currents that carry higher concentrations of nutrients. Another proposes they might be migrating to breeding grounds, though we've never observed sea pig reproduction in the wild and don't know if they even have specific breeding sites. The sexual life of sea pigs is almost entirely unknown, which is remarkable for a creature we've been studying for over a century. We know they release eggs and sperm into the water column in a process called broadcast spawning, but we don't know what triggers it, how often it happens, or how the larvae develop. We've never found a juvenile sea pig. Think about that. Billions of these creatures exist. They must be reproducing constantly to maintain their populations, and yet we have no idea what a baby sea pig looks like or where they grow up. It's as if an entire stage of their life cycle is happening in a place or manner we simply haven't discovered yet. Some scientists speculate that sea pig larvae might drift in the water column for months or even years before settling to the bottom, explaining why we never see juveniles alongside adults. Others wonder if there are nursery areas in parts of the ocean we haven't explored yet, protected zones where young sea pigs develop before joining the adult populations. Every answer we find seems to generate 3 more questions.
The sea pig also presents profound questions about consciousness and perception. What is it like to be a creature with no eyes, living in absolute darkness? What is it like to exist in a world where the concept of tomorrow might not mean anything because every day is identical? The sea pig has a nervous system, neurons that fire and process information, but what is that information? Chemical gradients in the water? Pressure waves from distant sounds? The texture of sediment beneath its tube feet? It's living in the same ocean as us, on the same planet, but its subjective experience of reality must be so foreign that we might have more in common with hypothetical aliens from another star system. And yet, for all its strangeness, there's something almost comforting about the sea pig. In a world where species are going extinct at unprecedented rates, where climate change is devastating ecosystems, where human activity is reshaping the planet's biology, the sea pig endures. It exists in a place we can barely reach, living a life we can barely understand, following patterns established hundreds of millions of years ago. It's a reminder that life is far more resilient, far more creative, and far stranger than we give it credit for. But the deep ocean is changing. Even the abyss isn't immune to human impact. Microplastics have been found in the deepest trenches on Earth, and sea pigs are consuming them along with the marine snow. We don't know what effect this is having on their biology, their reproduction, their long-term survival. Temperature changes are altering ocean currents, which could affect the distribution of marine snow, potentially starving populations that have existed in the same locations for millennia. Deep-sea mining operations are beginning to target the abyssal plains, planning to scrape the seafloor for rare minerals, an activity that would destroy sea pig habitats on a massive scale. In 2023, researchers published a paper suggesting that sea pigs might be what they call a canary species for the deep ocean, an early warning system for environmental changes we can't detect any other way. Because they're so numerous and so dependent on the rain of organic matter from above, any disruption to ocean food webs would show up in sea pig populations before it becomes obvious anywhere else. If we start seeing mass die-offs of sea pigs, it would mean something catastrophic is happening to the ocean's biological systems. The irony is brutal. We've spent more time and money exploring the surface of Mars than we have exploring our own ocean floor. We have better maps of distant moons than we do of the abyssal plains where sea pigs live. And
now, just as we're beginning to understand how important these ecosystems are, how interconnected they are with the surface world we inhabit, we're already damaging them in ways we don't fully comprehend. But perhaps the greatest mystery of the sea pig is what it represents for the future of life on Earth. Climate scientists predict that as oceans warm and acidify, as surface ecosystems collapse and recover and collapse again, the deep ocean will remain relatively stable. It's changed slowly over geological time, buffered from the rapid temperature swings and chemical changes that devastate shallow waters. If there's a mass extinction event in our near future, the creatures of the abyss, the Gravewalkers and their kin, might be among the survivors.
Imagine a future Earth where the surface has been ravaged by environmental catastrophe, where complex ecosystems have broken down, where the oceans are silent of whale song and dolphin chatter. But 4,000 meters down, the sea pigs would still be there, still shuffling across the mud, still processing the rain of death with patient efficiency. They survived the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. They survived ice ages and hothouse periods. They might very well survive us, too. There's something both humbling and terrifying about that thought. We like to imagine we're important, that our presence matters on a cosmic scale. But the sea pig existed for hundreds of millions of years before we evolved, and it will likely exist for hundreds of millions of years after we're gone. It doesn't care about our politics, our wars, our art, our science. It just walks through the graveyard, eating the dead, converting death into life with slow, methodical patience. The last thing I want you to imagine is this. Somewhere right now, at this exact moment, a sea pig is taking a step. One hydraulic tube foot lifting, extending, pressing down into sediment that has never been touched by sunlight. Its feeding tentacles sweep across the mud, searching for molecules of nutrition in a landscape of almost incomprehensible scarcity. It has no thoughts as we understand them, no fears, no dreams. It simply exists, doing what hundreds of millions of years of evolution have programmed it to do. And in that moment, in that simple act of existence in the most hostile environment on our planet, the sea pig is perfect. Not intelligent, not beautiful by any conventional measure, but perfectly adapted, perfectly suited to its role in the vast, dark machine of the deep ocean. It is life in one of its most essential forms, persistent, resilient, and utterly indifferent to being understood. The Gravewalker of the abyss doesn't need our protection, our admiration, or our understanding. It doesn't need anything from us either. But we might need it, to remind us that the world is stranger and deeper than we usually remember, that life finds ways to exist in places we declare impossible, and that beneath everything we know and see and care about, there is an entirely different world, operating on entirely different rules, a world that was ancient when the first humans looked up at the stars and wondered what else was out there. The answer was always beneath us, walking through the dark, feeding on ghosts, waiting for the next whale to fall from heaven.